There is a human hair in this anime clip. It's not one of mine. It's an actual clip from a professionally produced anime from the 1970s called Chargeman Ken, and it's not the only time that this hair makes an appearance. Now, for most shows, having a hair in an actual animation cell would have been far and away the worst black eye in a show's production. But with Chargeman Ken, if we're talking about worst production feature, take your pick. Sure, you could go with the hair that shows up so often that it's basically a recurring character, or you could go with the amateurish artwork that will have you questioning basic human anatomy. Maybe you're really impressed by the flipbook level frame rate, or the fact that nothing in the show's plot makes sense. The point is, this is one of the worst shows ever made, as its 4.68 score on My Anime List would seem to indicate. I suspect that the only reason why that score isn't lower is because most people are giving it either a 1 or a 10. Because despite being, without a doubt, the objectively worst produced anime that I've ever seen, I had a blast with Chargeman Ken, and I highly recommend that you watch this beautiful little horror show of an anime. Let's check it out. The good news with Chargeman Ken is that each episode is only about 6 minutes long, less if you skip the opening and closing theme songs. So while there are 65 episodes in total, the actual runtime is about the same as a 12 or 13 episode regular anime. It's over on Crunchyroll and I think on Retro Crush. I'll have the links in the description. Chargeman Ken is a futuristic sci-fi show that features Ken, his parents, his sister Charon, who is what you would get if you went to the 1950s Coca-Cola company and said, "We need you to design a human girl," and his perpetually inept robot Barakan, who's a cross between a duck and a humidifier? Magic 8-Ball maybe? I don't know. And Ken has special powers. That's his backstory. That's it. That's all you get. Whenever he gives his special salute and says "charging go" in English, he goes through a transformation sequence from one yellow jumpsuit to another, which gives him the power to have a ray gun and a car. I'm not even sure why Ken needs a transformation scene, because it's not like he's protecting his secret identity. The kid wears a full-body yellow jumpsuit with a monogrammed K to class, for Pete's sake. If anything, he may be the only hero in anime whose transformation outfit is less flashy than his day-to-day clothing. Once he gets rid of that K on his chest and ditches his bandana for the helmet, Ken is unstoppable, and he gleefully murders any and every Juralian he comes across. The Juralians are a race of 7-foot-tall purple aliens who can shapeshift into human form. Their goal is to eradicate the human race, one by one if needed, and of course to defeat Chargeman Ken, who is their great nemesis and supposedly the one thing stopping them from world conquest. Now, I want to point out a few series highlights, but if you're looking for a deeper dive on this anime, check out Kenny Lauderdale's video on Chargeman Ken. That's where I learned about the show, and I highly recommend his video. So here's a little bit of what you can expect in Chargeman Ken. First, I want to point out that right from the OP of the show, it makes no sense. There's a spaceship battle between Ken and a Juralian. The Juralian fires downward at Ken. Oh no, it looks like he's in danger. Then a beam firing down again, but horizontally flipped. Something blows up on the ground, and then, oh, he's fine. He's okay, somehow. It's hard to feel any sense of danger for the main character because at one point he appears to get shot with a Juralian laser beam directly in the eye, or at least in the faceplate, and he just jumps away and keeps fighting. This show feels like it was written by a 6-year-old child playing with toys. You know, where the hero can always just beat up the evil toys and never take any damage, and if a car needs to move from the floor to the couch, it can suddenly jump or fly because why not? That's the level of logic we're working with in this show. I can't stand the ending to this episode, by the way. Nothing happens to the little boy who set people's houses on fire. He just promises not to do it again and everything's cool. Then his parents show up and you have this guy who beats his wife standing there grinning his grateful smile now that their relationship problems are somehow magically fixed because Chargeman Ken murdered a couple of aliens. So what next? There's the episode where Juralians are disguised as robots who are apparently programmed to act like Old West villains who hit on a little girl. There's episode 24 where Chargeman Ken is lured into a graveyard where he blasts an evil robot with a blast so hard that it not only destroys the robot, but apparently blows up the graveyard and changes the local weather pattern too. But I think I want to point out episode 15 for this sound effect. Okay, I haven't seen anyone talk about that, but can we at least agree that that sound effect is hilarious? Also, sometimes Ken looks like a 50-year-old man for no reason. Good times. Last one. I love the dad's response in episode 21. Ken is worried that the doll that mysteriously showed up for Charon might be some kind of Juralian trick. You know, the crafty alien race who's been trying various schemes to kill the whole family for several episodes by now. But the dad is like, let's just see where this goes, and he continues to sip his coffee. And of course, the doll is part of a nefarious Juralian plan. What What is that plan, you ask? Well, apparently it's to have the doll be a vampire and suck Charon's blood so that she becomes weaker. When Ken gets suspicious and watches the doll at night, she sneaks up behind him and knocks him out with a lead pipe. The doll is then apparently controlling Charon, maybe through some kind of vampire hypnosis, and Charon lures her mom out into the woods. The doll is then supposed to lure the rest of the family out to a hill in the woods and line them all up so that the Juralians can light them on fire all at the same time. This is the actual plan. I am not making this up. And I haven't even gotten to Dynamite in the Brain, which is maybe the most famous episode, or episode 45, which spawned all those Knife Girl memes. You're just gonna have to experience those for yourself. So how do you even rate a show like this? In terms of production, it's definitely a 1, but it's also one of the most entertaining shows that I've ever seen. So what do you give it? 1 out of 10 Kens? 10 out of 10 Charons? 0 out of 0 Barricans because nobody likes Barrican? This show transcends its own awfulness to encompass not just anime, but all of human entertainment and even the act of creating meaning through art itself. It is not a 1, it is the 1. 1 out of 1 Chargemans. So if you like this video, please consider sharing it with someone else. And go watch Chargeman Ken, it is hilarious. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.